All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Miracle Mind, and great that we can continue. I'm happy that you're here and that you decided to join. I'm just looking at all my stuff here, if everything is in place, so I can go full on with the highest passions and let that rush through me. And that's so great. So this is where this is about today, the highest passion. And so we're familiar with that, right? It's very familiar to you to come into this state of high passion, whether that is anger or whether that is aha. Yeah, so yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so what are we doing today actually? Well, what we're doing is we have Master Teacher come over in the fifth part of the first section of the talk. And that will give some real, say, stirring up of passion. And yeah, come on in. And then, of course, we have the rebirth and resurrection part that we're actually entering into right now. But I want to use, instead of the chapter of the day, for by exception, I want to use the what is the real meaning of sacrifice, just to load it up a little bit extra. And what is the real meaning of sacrifice? That's part of the, say, teacher's manual. And it fits really well with rebirth and resurrection. That's why I want to use it. So we go through this a couple of times, and then it's like not only today, but in other meetings that are upcoming up to Easter, because it's a fundamental part of, as well as Easter, as Christmas, in fact. Like rebirth is really connected to the idea of Christmas. The Christ is born in you, and say the resurrection is then the full recognition of you, surmounting of death, and not being afraid to die right into your humanhood, but say rising out of the tomb, knowing that you're not a body and that death can never take you apart, so to speak. So a good death episode now and then is really our practice, and we help ourselves with that a lot. So yeah, okay, so that's going to be interesting, right? So after we have listened to Master Teacher, I'm also going to dive into a section from the talk, the specific part of this talk, using that just to stand still with what he have said. And of course it speaks for itself. Like, I have nothing to add to it. It is more like slowing down in it can really be, say, helpful for yourself to not miss any of it, or to help you change your mind about yourself, really. That is really the thing that's going on, of course. And see, changing the mind about yourself is what I have heard ever. I heard that before as an, okay, so changing my mind about myself is like getting better ideas about myself or something like this. It's like, yeah, that getting better ideas would be great, because the ideas that I hold about myself suck at this point, and I don't want to keep perpetuating that in the future. But that is not what changing your mind is. So changing your mind has to do with a shift from, say, the horizontal to the vertical. And when I say that, I mean from the horizontal is, say, whether you have good thoughts, great thoughts, wonderful thoughts, genius thoughts, if it's still happening here, then it's nothing. Then it's still nothing. So when you allow a vertical shift to occur in your mind, we are practicing that. It's really like an act of rebirth, or it's a miracle. You can call it that too. It's like the shift into a vertical recognition of yourself is an opening of your consciousness. It has nothing to do with having better thoughts. No, it has still nothing to do with your frame of reference, because your frame of reference is just a bag of old ideas that are just done. You don't need them any longer. So the direct experience of the vertical alignment is bringing you back to how you were created. And that makes it, that's the thing, so to speak. And of course you know this, but I want to repeat that. So changing your mind about yourself has nothing to do with getting a better definition of yourself. Because that would really be like, that is tempting, and it is being applied in many so-called spiritual teachers tell you that. It's like, think positive thoughts, affirmations of well, if I'm thinking positive, then my life will be positive and I'll attracting positive things and blah 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 blah. They're like, no, this has nothing to do with that. This is a revolution of mind. In the sense that you don't hold on to any of the references related to human references, to human horizontalism, you could say. Now this is about allowing yourself to die into your humanhood, like we did yesterday, a little bit of that. It's like, yeah, it's a crucifixion or whatever ideas you hold, sitting in the Garden of Gethsemane, undergoing this huge pressure of human existence, feeling that there's absolutely no way out, feeling not one bit of support in your aloneness of yourself, everything caving in on you, and say, eventually letting that just happen. Not defending it, not fighting against it, just letting the collapse happen. And in that, recognizing that something else is happening than you would possibly, than you could have possibly imagined, and that is a vertical shift into a whole, say, an opening up of your consciousness into a whole different dimension altogether. It has nothing to do with this place whatsoever. And that is what is the revolution called the Course in Miracles, the revolutionary process that is, say, guided, that is being offered. See, the thing that I want to get out of is an idea of a process or guidance in the process. Like, that idea is not going to work, because what do you do with an advice? What do you do with an answer to a question? You're going to try to fit it into your horizontalism, into your horizontal frame of reference, and that has no future. That has no relevance. It still doesn't make any relevance. Your beautiful spiritual ideas translated into human ideas, forget it. It's still not working. So we're not going to do that any longer. We're not considering ourselves, we're not evaluating ourselves. No, we allow to die into our own selfness. We allow ourselves to not knowing how to do that. Not knowing how to do that, but also not knowing where it will lead us to. Just allowing a complete collapse of the whole card house that we have built as an identity separate from God. So that's, in a nutshell, that part. Good that I opened that up a little bit. Wow, that was great. Thank you. So the next part is the manual for teachers. We're going into that again. It's very helpful to use the manual for teachers, because in fact, it points the finger exactly in the place where you think like, yeah, but I can't do that, can I? Oh, that's too much to ask. Oh my God, total trust or development of trust or joy without opposite, patience. Wow, that's a real challenge. Now you're really bringing it to me. And this is the manual for teachers. So there's a certain intensity, if you allow that to speak to you, that is so transformational. So that's why I use this. So here with the specific part, so what's the real meaning of sacrifice? We're going to take a look at that. I'm going to read some paragraphs and see what comes up to share. Some glasses would be great. So here we are. What is the real meaning? It's section 14 from the Manual for Teachers from, in this case, the Urtext of A Course in Miracles, Urtext manuscripts. There's 7-volume combined edition, as you hear many times when you listen to the audio files. So this is section 3 of this is part 3, the book 3, the Manual for Teachers, and then section 14. What is the real meaning of sacrifice? Now this is great. So we're going to work a little bit through this. It is not too long, is it? No, it's so we're going to do today just like two paragraphs, probably. Although in truth the term sacrifice is altogether meaningless, it does have meaning in the world. Like all things in the world, its meaning is temporary and will ultimately fade into the nothingness from which it came. I always love that. It's like, yeah, it returns back into the nothingness where it came from. So it's a temporary device we use in our humanness, a temporary attribute we use. Because it has meaning in this world, we have to do something with it. If it isn't completely faded into the nothingness that it came from. So when there's no more use for sacrifice, wow, like all the things in the world, its meaning is temporary and will ultimately fade into the nothingness from which it came when there is no more use for it. Now, its real meaning is a lesson. Like all lessons, it's an illusion, because where we're heading is beyond learning, is beyond lessons, is beyond guidance, is beyond all of that. For in reality, there's nothing to learn. What is that to do then in reality if there's nothing to learn? Well, you are in reality. That is completely fulfilling. And that has nothing to do with an action. Isn't that interesting? Like all the lessons, it is an illusion, for in reality there's nothing to learn. Yet this illusion must be replaced by a corrective device, another illusion on top of this one, that replaces the first, so both can finally disappear. The first illusion, which must be displaced before another thought system can take hold, is that it is a sacrifice. Oh, this is the first illusion. It is a sacrifice to give up the things of this world. That is the first illusion. It is a sacrifice to give up the things of this world. What could this be but an illusion, since this world itself is nothing more than that? So, good question then. It's like, are you ready to let this happen? It's like, do you get to the point where you actually see that it is no sacrifice to give up the things of the world? Like, I'm actually seeing it's an illusion. Or are you completely tied into this world and thinking that, oh my God, that would be such a sacrifice to give this up because of my house, because of my wife, because of my children, because of my lovely dog, because of my great future, because of my beautiful career, because of, yeah. So that's going to take a while if that is still like that. So you come to another thought system. So let me just get out of this. It's like the first illusion, which must be dispelled before another thought system can take hold, is that it is a sacrifice to give up the things of the world. Okay, let's start with this then, because this is really fundamental, very necessary to take a look at. So now you see that starts to make total sense that we're here looking at this. Because in our way to becoming reborn, we might as well take a look at what is actually, where do we think that we are? Where are you? Where are you living? In a world with all valuable things that you would never want to give up until it's really necessary or it becomes too painful? Or are you living in a place where you become more and more still and you look around you with an idea like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't want any of it. Now what am I gonna do? See, then it becomes easier to let this occur, and you see that then, in fact, it is no sacrifice. So you look at the things of the world not any longer as valuable, but also not any longer as something outside yourself. You just start to recognize it as part of your thought system that you have been holding on to. But since you got your first glimpses, or maybe even some really deep, beautiful revelation, that you see like, oh my God, no, I don't want any of that. Whew, no, hell no. See, that would be really helpful. So the experiences that we're talking about, the experiences of something else, of the alternative to the human frame of reference, become really important. And they become so important because it will help you to speed up your letting go of this place, of all the things that you have valued, of all the investments you have made, and ratata. You know this already. It's like you know the list where we go through future concerns. Yeah, many of those things, patterns that you just keep repeating for you don't even know why. So these things. So that is really good to recognize. So you find yourself in a certain segment, you could say. You recognize it. I'm still holding on to this world. I still value it. That's why I'm seeing it. But at times when I sit back, when I allow something else to occur in my mind, I see the futility of this place, of the things that I valued before so intensively. I see them drop, in fact, one by one. And since my, say, inner experiences of light and love become more intensive, and seeing that I feel so connected in that recognition, I have no use for this place. I wouldn't even know what to do with this. So this is where you're growing into. As a teacher of God, you start to recognize that. You allow that process to take place because the necessity for you to let go of this whole thought system, this whole value system related to the world, is essential for its replacement. It's like before anything can happen, you first have to let go of this in order for there be enough space in your consciousness, so to speak, where the light and love can shine and be recognized. The second paragraph. It takes great learning both to realize and to accept the fact that the world has nothing to give. Okay, so it takes great learning both to realize, that's one thing, and to accept the fact. Two different things. Realizing it, oh God, yeah, I realize that this world holds in fact nothing that can be of any value to me. It's like it has literally nothing to give. That's easy to say as a concept. Yeah, I realize that. But when you start to realize that in yourself, like to accept it and realize it in yourself, say integrate it into the way that you're feeling, thinking, then it becomes a different thing. It takes great learning because you have, still a teacher inside of you, inside your mind, teaching you, in fact, to make a deal with God. At least you can keep some of yourself, you can take some of God. And we call this the ego, but it's like this little negotiator, the negotiator in your mind who tries to make a deal of like, yeah, okay, so God is great, absolutely, but a little bit of this I want to keep for myself, and then I want to do everything for God. Just like this, you know. So the negotiator has to be looked at, and it takes great learning both to realize and to accept the fact that the world has nothing to give. What can the sacrifice of nothing mean? What, you tell me that the world is nothing? Yes. It cannot mean that you have less because of it. So if you sacrifice nothing, how can you possibly have less if it was nothing in the first place? So apparently there's value that you give it while it doesn't have that. And maybe that's the reason why you're in pain and why you're suffering and why you are, say, concerned continuously or in fear. There's no sacrifice in the world's terms that does not involve the body. Think a little while about what the world calls sacrifice. Power, fame, money, physical pleasures. Who is the hero to whom all these things belong, right? Well, could they mean anything except to a body? Yet a body cannot evaluate. So by seeking after such things, the mind associates itself with the body, obscuring its identity and losing sight of what it really is. Oh my God. Now tell me that that doesn't happen to you. I'm having so much fun. Okay, so it's like all these things where you value something. My house, my wife, my cat, my dog, my great boat, my incredible holiday house, so what do you do with that? Who's coming into that place? Who's actually participating in that place? Where is it all based on? And that's the body. So the body, yeah, it cannot evaluate, it cannot think for itself. It cannot evaluate itself and say like, well, this world doesn't mean anything. And by the way, I don't exist either. Like, that's not something that you hear from the body. So that's what it says here. So apparently the mind is involved, but in such a way, which is really funny to recognize. The mind is actually the one who thinks it is a body, right? Well, this confusion needs to be let go of. No, your mind, your spirit, you're not a body. You just thought you were this thing, and you think it's solid because it makes noises if you tap on the shoulder, or it is warm, or it is moving, or it is doing whatever it does. It grows, or it does something. It's like it has all kinds of attributes that you associate with existence, with life in your own definition. And it has nothing to do with that. So, but it walks everywhere, it does things, it sustains, it has to be sustained in order to exist. So you feed it, you wash it, all these things. Like you keep yourself busy with it, pretending it is you. So that builds, like your mind is so creative, you could say, your mind is so creative that builds a whole system around this body idea. So this is the greatest psychosis that we're living in. Hypnosis, psychosis, whatever you want to call it. Like if you know who you are, you see that this is insanity, that it is quite say psychiatric disease, you could say, to be human, to think that you are this. That is quite something. You build up a whole illusional system as an alternative to a completedness that is so perfect and that is completely fulfilling. So it's like, yeah, you have to come to terms with that, with yourself. Like, oh my God, however could I imagine that that would be me, you know, however could I be that confused? Well, you never get an answer to that. There's no reason to be confused any longer. That's why we have the 30 days rebirth and resurrection. Like, yeah, that whole story can cave in on itself. It's like, allow yourself to give up an idea that this brings you something, that the world is actually giving you something. Not that you cannot enjoy it or anything. It's like, no, there is no enjoyment here. It is not a place that exists, so it has nothing to do with reality. So it is a temporal illusion that is being repaired, you could say, with another illusion until everything is seen as it has no value, it does not exist, it is not here, you're gone, you're not even here, you were never here, this never happened, this is over. Now that is exactly where this is for. It's like that's the revolution that is taking place. So it's not just like changing your mind about yourself, like, okay, I can be a better person. Like, no. You don't belong here. You were never here. You're home in heaven. And whambo. This is where you are. This is where you are. It has nothing to do with any ideas that you hold about yourself. So the real meaning of sacrifice is then there's no sacrifice. There's no sacrifice. Temporarily we see it as sacrifice because we really think we give up something valuable, but we don't know yet completely that it doesn't exist in the first place. All right, so that's the start. So now I think it's getting time to listen to Master Teacher. There was, as I sometimes say, like the warming up, and now we're ready for Master Teacher to listen to, say, the tape. Can you hear this?
Once more. Power corrupts, because when we get more, we hold on it. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's the most insane statement that could ever be made. It's the definition that God is corrupt, evil, and death, and those that got the most when they die are the most successful. It's just senseless. You are the only living Son of God. You're true, you're in a dream, and I came to wake up because you told me to. Why else am I doing this? Did I come uninvited? Impossible. Okay, you can misidentify me, but you have to have invited me because I'm in your mind. Somewhere within time framework you heard me and came to heaven. Yes. Why? We already decided that. Now we're trying to decide whether you're going to do it this time or wait till some other time. You think there's another time, I know there's not. But you ought to remember me. I owe you it. You got my marker. You told me to come here and do this. See, you guys think that we don't know each other. How the hell would we not know each other? Well, I certainly don't remember knowing you. That's because you don't wanna. I remember you. Now, will you remember me somewhere in time? Oh, of course. Will you remember me perfectly? How could you not? You know everybody. I mean, it's not that big a deal. There were only 12 of us, right? All I've done is taken total responsibility for the screw-up. Can you hear this? Okay. I was in charge of this that screwed it up, or you were, but I'm going to take it this time. See if you can hear this. If we went out on a mission together and got screwed up, right? This is what's called a mistake in the Course in Miracles. We made a mistake. But what did we lose? Communication. Okay? It was nothing but a momentary loss in communication. But at the time it was broken, I think it was a fly speck on the map or something. I don't know. But we got... I'm trying to give you an analogy that would be more like a parable, perhaps, than your definition of it. When my mind speaks like this, it's speaking absolute truth to you. We got lost, okay? Now, I led you into death, and I accept responsibility for that, and I'll lead you out of this if you'll let me. That's why I got the job. It has nothing to do with good or bad or right or wrong. It has to do with my recognition of the mistake. It's not sinful, it's not sick, it's not going to die, and finally it never happened. Okay? I've often told you, I got the short straw at the Masters Academy. I drew the short straw. Nobody wants to come down this deep in this crap. Do you think I'm a number one savior? I was 242nd in my class. That's a sad idea, isn't it? You're not sure you like that. You know, I always was disturbed there was always a doctor who graduated last in his class. Somehow So you're going to judge, because I was 242nd, you have a tendency to say, well, can I have somebody that was a little higher in the graduation? No, that's why you got me. When you get this deep, we call ourselves the dirty dozen. This is quite literally true. See, the difference is you're just a complete misfit here. I wish you could hear this. Because of the advancement of your karma association, within your heart, this time, in this frequency, you are aware that you don't fit. You have to be. You wouldn't be sitting with me. If you'd have been able to fit this together, you know, you'd be the #1 cello player in the Chicago Symphony, okay? Or you play the harp beautifully, perhaps, okay? And that is giving you the satisfaction of your creative purpose. You guys are jack of all, no trades. You're good at everything, but you have no tenacity to pursue it because you see the futility down the line of the accomplishment. That's why you got me. Yeah, that's why you got me. Isn't that funny? I couldn't go to school. I couldn't understand why you would go to school and study something that was already known. Can you hear this? Yeah. Yeah, algebra, I say, why do you want to solve for the unknowns? You must know what's in there already. Why don't you just put the answer down and So you study the philosophers in relationship to themselves. And I tried to read the philosopher, and I said, yeah, I know that. You do too. I know that. They'd come up with all of these dramatic perceptual things, and you'd say, well, I knew that when I was 14. There's a lot of you like that. That's why you're with me. You couldn't understand why the academia would go and study for 8 years and come up with all comparative relationships between, in philosophy, perhaps between Aristotle or Kierkegaard or Hegel or the existentialists. Because what they were looking for was always obvious in your mind. Yeah. So you felt the frustration of not being happy with limited goals. Okay. Now that can assert itself in various ways. You can continue to do it, put up a facade, and die with it being a loving grandfather and knowing in your heart that you screwed it up again. But you won't know that until you pass through another physical death. At that time, you'll remember it perfectly because that's really what's happening to you now, but you don't know that. I can't teach it. Okay, time is collapsing each moment, and you're actually undergoing death experiences right now. What I want you to do is undergo one and remember it perfectly well. The experience that I had that you want to tell me about was much more devastating than a death experience. See, I thought there was some value in death. The experience that I had indicated there was absolutely no value in me. That's why I don't give you any credit in your own ego. It's absolutely meaningless to me. Did I get that through the devastation of my own associates? That's what I'm trying to get you to do. Can it be done gradually? I don't know. There's no definition for it. Is it necessary to salvation? Imperatively necessary. See, the Course is a soft course in the hardest way possible, because it's very unequivocating, but it appears to give you full license of choice, doesn't it? It doesn't recommend any form of discipline at all except the practice of the association. As soon as that practice becomes part of you, you will inherently do it because of the progress being made in your transformation. Outside of that, it would be totally non-doctrinal and totally non-disciplinary. You see? As soon as you begin to see this, you want it. Why wouldn't you? Okay. Now, as long as you think the alternative is going to satisfy you, you won't seek it. That's fact. I can't do anything about that. Okay. Now, you will demand from me satisfaction in your limited associations, and all I can say is be happy. Okay? What else can I tell you? If you're determined to be the grandma, if you're determined to continue to authenticate yourself, who in all the universe is going to stop you from doing it? You demand that I give you recognition for yourself, but I can't because you're nothing. I can't give you recognition. I can only ask you to look at the power of your mind that's being asserted in your determination to hold on to your limited associations. Will you be the same after you talk to me? It's impossible. No one's the same after they talk to me. How could you be? That has nothing to do with whether you attack me or whether you redevise yourself in another association. Do I use that? Sure. People don't like the teacher's manual where it talks about the use of occult witchcraft to the benefit. But I love black magic. I mean, finally, the only thing you're attacking is yourself, and it can appear to be very devastating, but pure black magic is pure light, intrinsically. Can you hear that? The moment that you would demonstrate total evilness, you'd have to be totally good. Ready? What's the difference between something totally evil and something totally good? You want to respond to that? What's the difference between something totally evil, totally separate, and something totally whole? How could it be? If you were totally evil, you can't be totally aware of evilness. It's a negative statement of separation and becomes inclusive. You can't be totally separated, you become whole. How could you not? Okay, separation, duality is duality. Your problem is you're judging separation. You have to choose up sides, and what have you got? You don't have a whole on either side of you. This is the whole Course in Miracles. Okay, if there is a whole, it's impossible that anything be separate from it. Okay, you know that perfectly well in your mind, therefore you must be included in the whole. But in order to know that, you've got to take the separation and bring it into the whole association of your own mind. What do you have to do? Bring the evil up with the good and don't judge it. Your reality is based on the moral definition of what's good and evil and what's murder and what is okay to do and what's not okay to do. None of that is true and none of it is real. Do I have that a step ahead of you? If I murdered when I was 17, like these young guys are doing over there now, all right? I was justified in killing people. That some deaths are okay and some are not. That's absurd to me. It's absolutely absurd. If anything dies, everything must die, all right? And that death must be in my own associations. For you to qualify, your perceptual mind qualifies the relationship of pain and death is absolutely absurd to me, and I couldn't stand it. When I came back from the war, I couldn't stand this place. Why? Because I'd seen thousands of bodies piled up dead, and they had no meaning in the association with life. If life ends in death, what the hell's the purpose in it? You give it purpose and tell me it's okay. That's okay. I can't stop you from doing that. I'm looking for people who don't want to base their life on death. Because basing your life on sickness and termination is senseless to anybody that would care to look at it. Wow. At the time one of my best friends was killed, I suddenly was him. I knew perfectly well I was him standing there, that I was a part of this whole thing. Not by my definition of his personality, but by the certainty of continuing consciousness within this framework of apparent reality. And that's what I'm directing you to now. till I'm taking death away from you. Now what are you going to do? Now you say to me, what am I going to do now? This is the teachings of Jesus Christ. Here's what you've never been willing to do. Okay? I'm going to take death away from you. If I don't let you sequence time, everything that you're doing here has no meaning. Is there a question on this? How could it? If you've constructed yourself, all right, in this association with you having yourself and are giving it value, you will fulfill the obligation of your own mind to die. If I take that away from you, the earth doesn't have any purpose. That's a fact. This is the teachings of Jesus Christ. You're not from here. Your kingdom is of heaven. Don't lay up stores. Give everything away. Don't resist. Do you hear it? This is what you won't do. See, you want the truth of it, but you don't want to have to, Jesus teaches, you're not a happy learner. You think somehow that there's sacrifice involved in what you're doing, which is probably the craziest thing I ever heard of. Okay, somehow you don't want to give up the rotten stuff that you got in order to know that you're whole. This is an actual conflict that's in your own mind, and if you don't think so, you're sadly mistaken, and unless you look at it, you're never going to be able to overcome it. The admission finally has to be that I'm not going to lose the things that I love if there's a God. Okay, I'm not going to let this consciousness, this is my daughter incidentally, I'm not going to let my daughter get sick and die by defining her as a body. The power is in my mind to do that. Okay? I tell you that that's a power that I have because this is my world. Now you say to me, well, it may be your world, but it's not my world. Crap. I am you in my world. Okay? I don't know if you're ever going to hear this, but you're going to have to hear it sometime. The very simple reason that I'm the Savior of the world is because I saved it by coming to know its unreality. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you think I am, and what you think I am is the falsity of it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Wow. Wow. So the holding on to your world has become even more like, ugh. Yeah. Great. Great. So you feel the passion that is behind all of this, and you see also the necessity for it. Like you discover it has to do with real things that you esteemed as real, at least. It's like it has to do with this stuff that is happening in your life that you have felt, that you have recognized for yourself. Like, oh God, I started to go into a relationship and it became hell, and the separation was an incredible war, or it was this, or it was that. And like, I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of the human way of dealing with all of this, as if it's like, no, I don't want that any longer. Or I have enough pain. I have been walking around with so much pain, so much like rejection, so much, whatever happened to you. It's like I don't want to make stuff up, but at the same time, it's good to realize that the place where you have found yourself, you couldn't deal with it. So for sure that you recognize yourself in that too. It's like, no, I wasn't able to do that. Like otherwise, the master teacher says, otherwise you would have been playing in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra as a successful who knows what. Like you were not, say, motivated to get there, to do anything in this world really, really, with the sacrifices, so-called, that are asked to get there, or the say, adapting yourself to it so that you would fit in or something like this. Like we have been there and it didn't work out for us. For whatever reason, it did not work out. It was not for me. It was not for me to do this. I tried everything. I did a study in this and a study in that. I went to school till I was 24 or something. Like, and then still I didn't know. And and then started doing art school. I was like, I don't know. I always loved making art. Why not go to art school? Do you want to be totally successful in that? No. I've no motivation to do so. I love to make art, sure. But I'm not going to do this in order to achieve something in the art world. I don't feel the motivation to do so. And then in the middle of art school, I received like a spiritual awakening that shows me the total futility of what I was doing. Like, I have to quit. I cannot do this any longer. What am I doing here? Trying to be a student in a school, listening to a teacher, to do what? Why? Because what he's telling me I already know, and stuff like this. So, like, it's honestly looking at the situation where you find yourself. That's I think the best way to say this. That is going to show you how much you don't value the world and how much you do value the world. But the recognition of that, the completely honest admission to yourself is the most important part. No, it does not make sense. No, I don't want this any longer. And even for me, like with an idea of family, it's like, okay, now what? I have a family, and I don't feel well in it. I don't function well in it. I don't know what to do with it. I cannot do this any longer. I have to do something, but I don't want this. So that is how deep this goes, in the sense of all of it becomes meaningless in the end. And you see it like, to give it up isn't a sacrifice. I'm not regretting that. No, sorry, I'm not regretting that. I'm not even gonna say sorry. It's like, no, but this is the place where it really happens. No, I cannot do it. That's the whole thing. I can't do it any longer. I've done this for lifetimes. Now I'm fed up. Like, I'm done with it. So to give it up is not a sacrifice to me. To see that I've nothing to do here is not a sacrifice any longer. To see that I have no ambition to make anything out of this, or to have a motive to reach anything at all. Like, no, that's not the case. So when something is occurring, like, that's the inspiration and the passion that's moving you in your in your newness of you, you could say, which has nothing to do with this world any longer. It's just getting in touch with this passion that is literally flowing through you and giving you all the inspiration to just be you, to be sustained by that, to not miss any of the so-called rest that wasn't there in the first place. Like, that is the most amazing discovery in this whole rebirth, you could say. It is that's huge. It is literally replacing everything with no residue. There's nothing left behind. There's no regret, no doubt, no anything left behind. So that makes it really clear to let the passion flow through you, you could say, and to be that, because that's what you are. Like, otherwise, I have no motive. I have no personal motive to do anything. So it has to be given. Otherwise, it's nothing to me. I have no intention of doing anything else. So any attempt that seems to be happening, or any temptation that seems to come along the way, is a temporary thing that's in my face, and I look at it just long enough to see it just fade again. It's like, sorry, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Oh my God, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. And in that, the space opens up more and more and more to be in the remembrance, to be in the recognition of, yes, here I am. Oh my God, thank you so much. Yeah, wherever you want me, wherever, whatever, show me, here I am. So that's in fact the whole procedure of the sacrifice undoing. There's no sacrifice at all. So yes, I had some other parts of this talk that I'd love to show to you. We continue on. Here we are. So see, I have a contract. Oh yeah, I think this is from the previous talk, but anyway, it doesn't matter. See, I have a contract with Jesus and the guys in the course because you weren't getting it. Oh yeah, so they had to send number 242 from the list of the Master's Academy, and that was Master Teacher. Like they couldn't find a better one to work with the batch that was in there. That's really funny. So see, I have a contract with Jesus and the guys in the course because you weren't getting it. You were fooling around with it a little bit. So that's why I do this, so that you can make the energy connection with the perceptual connection of the course. Why? The course is true. Now, since I'm doing that must be the method in which you got it. Do you hear that? Good for you. Like, this must have been the way for you to get this. And I'm saying this too. It's like you chose to be here present in this moment. This means that this must have been the way for you to get this. This is why it says you have got to use the Course in Miracles, because you have no alternative to it. That's why you're actually dealing with it. That's why this came into your life. It works that way. The Course in Miracles is the awakening, not by your definition of it, but because it says the truth. What difference does it make who it says? So that's why they've given you a guy you're sure to deny. Why? He's in direct association with you. He's not some idol that you can accept up to the point where he fails you in your mind. No, he is in a constant confrontation with you. Why? That's why you need to look at it. Since it's only your own judgment that keeps you from being whole. So it has to do with your judgment. This is the practice of A Course in Miracles in non-judgment, incidentally. Does this require your admission that I'm expressing to you later on within your own time field? It would sure as hell help you. If you can't tell the positivity of my statements, what are you doing here? The only definition that I will ever give you for honesty is constancy. I'm absolutely constant. You start to hear more and more of the talk, right? So the sheets are becoming of less and less importance, in fact, because we're so in the story when we listen to it and how we are prepared for it. Like there's an overlap taking place, and you can feel that and see that too. I recognize it myself too. It's like literally what Master Teacher is sharing is exactly what I'm sharing to you, because it is the same recognition. The recognition I had with him, the recognition you have with him, the possibility for you to say, use me, in fact, to hear this. You know, so that's so great. It's like you literally chose this as your way to awaken. Like that needs, say, recognition and admission. Like you will have to say, go for that. The Course in Miracles came into your life. That was a sudden appearance, a sudden happening. Whoa, the colors changed instantaneously. Like, but that wasn't immediate recognition that you had You knew that you had to get the book. You knew that you had to get the download or whatever. However this comes to you, doesn't matter. But you felt that. And so it's like, okay, now just choose to use this for your awakening, because you already have chosen and it has chosen you. That means that you are actually have a great chance of waking up out of this misery that you have recognized to be your world, and recognized to be your daily experience of limitation and all of that. So that's why this is so great. So there's an instant recognition. I know you, you know me, we have a recognition. Otherwise you would not listening to this or be here. Like that is something that needs your admissions. Like, okay, I might as well just go for it. Yes, and yes, indeed. So whatever is necessary for that, I'm here. I was chosen to do this. I was number 648 of the Masters Academy. So it's really bad, but I made it. Yeah, so I was lucky. I had a master in 242. So now it's different. It's like 686. Geez, really? Is it that bad? Yes, it's that bad. So it's like time is running. Now today, one thing you have heard too, and this I really love, this explicit, as Master Teacher taught it, is like this idea, if you don't sequence time, there would be no reason for you to be here. This world is literally made with an idea of time sequence. That means there's a yesterday, there's a tomorrow, there's a today, and we're working towards a future in which you're going to die in the story. So it's like when you break that continuity for yourself, when you allow that to disintegrate, then you see that the futility for this place, the nature of this place becomes meaningless, because in fact everything you've done so far was with a specific goal to achieve in the future. Am I right or not? It's like, yeah, of course you had your motives to do this. You wanted to reach somewhere. You wanted to come at a certain place. You didn't even know exactly what it was, but you wanted to have a better future. That's why you started doing this. Now that is the greatest delusion so far. Like, you're not going to achieve that. So you don't have to achieve that any longer, because this timeline idea of a better future is not right. That was an illusion in itself. So that needs to come down. Now this is like an module, you could say, almost like a module running in your psyche. It's like, so what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I have a certain motive in doing things. Right now I'm going to be honest with myself. Why am I actually doing this that I'm doing? In my day, just today, for instance, or tomorrow, what am I going to do? With what purpose? With what motive? To better future? But it doesn't exist. That's an illusion. Am I chasing an illusion and putting all my efforts and my, my inspiration into that? I can. Nobody's stopping me. But it's an illusion. You want to fill your day with that? There's no necessity for it. So this is up to you. Nobody's going to stop you. But it's a great thing. It's like, you see, that is really what a miracle is, in fact. It's like it's a catalyst. It speeds up the process. This idea is planted in your consciousness at this point, and it's working its way. It's like, okay, that module is kicked in. It's like I once did this matrix energetics course with quantum healing, matrix energetics course, and we used all kinds of modules, and you could turn them on, turn them off, turn them up with a little slide board. You could turn them up too. So it's like, okay, the module is planted. The module for you to see what your motives are. What is your motive? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? You're going to get clarity on that in the next 30 days or next 20 days. Up to Easter, you're going to get clarity why you are doing the things. With the purpose of a better future, okay, you know now that's an illusion. That is not going to help you in any kind of way. No, that's a delay. That means more pain, more of that. But you didn't know that you were doing it. So you didn't know that you were sequencing time. So that is broken too. If you talk about tomorrow or a future, like it will raise a red flag. It's like, what was I just thinking? Am I really using time to do what? To get old and sick and die? Like to eventually die because it is a limited timeline? Am I actually going to do that? Or what's going on here? So these are two things in this spiritual moment together, in a moment of recognition. It's like it's not even a spiritual moment. It is the recognition of your process that you're in. It's like the real spirituality starts when you are reborn. When you come into the experience of this, when light, say, blows your mind right open in this, then you can call it spiritual. You know, this process to it, yes, sure, it's more like recognizing the illusions, which is what it is. It's the undoing. It's an illusion of a process that is taking place. That when it is finished, it was nothing. It didn't happen. So yeah, there's not a better future. So there's a recognition to be made of to come to you. When your consciousness is open, it can come to you right now. And it is coming to you all the time. It is speaking to you all the time. And yes, you were successful in it. It did work out. It is accomplished. So that's the real comfort of this specific moment. It has nothing to do with anything. And this is why we love to come down into, say, your presence, into, oh yeah, let's feel the energy that is just here. Oh yeah, let's not forget to breathe and relax our shoulders. Like, no, there's no doing on my part at all. Like any kind of motive is not going to, say, really move me. So this needs to come from another place, and I love that to happen to me. More and more and more. What else would I want to do? So this is what is occurring in this moment. So great that you are here, and we leave the sheets for what they are for now, because I think we got so much, like in this meeting there's so much to work with, and that is working you is great. So let's not overdo it. Thank you so much for your presence here, and see you soon. Thank you so much.